You're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast, your new favorite podcast for everything Bills and Sabres. What's going on, everybody? You're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast, your favorite podcast for all things Bills and Sabres, with the pals Nigel, Tom, and Jake. Episode 19 coming at y'all. Quick reminder to follow our social medias at Let's Go Buff Pod. That is Buff with 2 F's on Instagram and X. And speaking of social medias, you may or may not know, but it is indeed Spotify Wrapped season. This is the time of year when those of us that use Spotify, everyone gets to see what they obsessed over this year, putting in their ears. And with us being podcasters now, quote unquote, we got our first podcast wrapped, as well. So we did find out that we were a top podcast for a handful of you. So if you were one of those people where we were your top lessons, please give us a shout out on your social media. We would love to see it and share it. In fact, we would like to do a thing where, like, if we were your number one listen podcast, like I said, share it, tag us, and we're going to get in touch with you. We've got some cool, very dope holographic stickers, not Pokemon cards, holographic stickers that we would like to send out to you. We're pretty stoked. We just recently hit over 1,000 listens of this absolutely goofy, ridiculous, comic excuse of a podcast. And that doesn't happen without all of you that are out there listening and clicking those download buttons and leaving reviews and all that stuff. So from all three of us, and I know the boys want to thank y'all as well, thank you so much for being along with us. We're having a blast. Like I said, we don't know what we're doing pretty much ever. We're just three buds that love one another and love talking Bills and Sabres, and we're so grateful to have you guys along for the ride. Tom, how you doing this evening, pal?
I'm good. I think you're onto something. I think we should do Pokemon cards of us next.
That could be sick, dude.
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah. So, absolutely. Shout out our buddy Gabe who made those holographic stickers. Those things are sick, dude. And appreciate you for doing that. And we got to make sure he gets one. I hope you snagged one before you sent them to Jake. But if not, we got to get you one for sure. And we actually got to see Lisa, our graphic design artist, a couple weeks ago, and she got to see her artwork in person. We had the stickers made, and she got to see them in real life as opposed to just digitally on our Spotify or Apple Music podcast icon. So that was pretty fun. But no, man, I'm awesome, good. Dude. Been a good week. Been plugging away, and man, it's been kind of upside down land here in Buffalo sports world. But
you are not kidding.
It's all good. Jake, how are you, bud?
I'm good. Yeah, we'll get into the upside down for sure. It's been a long week. I've been stressed and busy. So what better way to unwind than to talk about the failures of my favorite sport teams, right?
Let your demons out a little bit here, huh?
Yeah. I might go off on this one, so let's buckle up. All right.
This is it. I'm gonna be trying to poke the bear all podcast.
Yeah, that's gonna be this one. This one should be a bit of a doozy. So our plan for tonight's going to be mostly a big focus on the Sabres. But first, as always, we should probably handle a little bit of a beer corner here, eh, fellas?
Inject a little alcohol into me, please. Yeah.
Right. So real quick, I'm going to jump in first here. Well, actually, let's have them cracked. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Okay. So I'm going to go first, and I actually don't have a beer. And I just want to touch on something real quick. The reason I don't have a beer is because I came straight from a therapy session. And very quickly, just as three dudes that are, working out and hanging out here together, I just want to take a quick, tiny 2-second moment here to encourage any and all people, men included, to not be afraid of going and pursuing something like that. I've only been doing it for a little bit, but I'm already feeling the positive effects from it. And I'm just super stoked on it. And I know sometimes as dudes, there's a little bit of a
stigma.
A bit of a stigma that we're not supposed to do that because we don't get sad. But I'm the first one to sit here and raise my hand. I get sad about shit. And life these days is not hard. And I'm super proud of myself and super proud of my friends that I know that have also pursued therapy. So that's my little beer corner shtick. That was very important to me to
No,
mention because I just think we need to start changing things
yeah.
like that.
No, it
So,
needs to be. Absolutely, it does. Yeah, I
so
agree with you. Yeah, one
no
of the
beer
best
for
things
me.
I've ever. One, one of the best things I've ever done for myself. So yeah,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
Jake, what are
Tom
you
does it
drinking
too.
tonight, buddy? You set it up.
I set it up. Yeah, yeah. Well, I
Prior
completely
podcast, off air. Yeah, you got me excited.
offline. I completely agree with you, Nigel. I do think it's important, and yeah, props for putting it out there and encouraging people. And if there's ever a podcast that needs to encourage people to go to therapy, it's a Buffalo sports
Yeah,
podcast.
that's one of the big reasons.
No, so for me tonight, I'm drinking from Rising Storm Brewing Co. out of Rochester. A very fitting beer. It's called the Everyday Struggle, which goddamn, that's how I feel pretty much day in day out watching these
A little
teams.
on
So
the nose. Yeah.
that's what I got. It's a New England IPA. It's tasty. It's yeah, good beer from them. Yeah.
Yeah, buddy.
Yep.
Tom, what are you slugging down over there?
Mine is called Roller Dogs from Upper Pass Beer Company. It's an American light lager, and I got it specifically for this week because I thought my week needed a bunch of artwork that has a bunch of different pups all on roller skates.
Hell
So
yeah,
that was really fun. Yeah, no, it's tasty. It's
Dude,
a nice light beer.
funny enough, man, my shirt that I'm wearing right now is a bunch of puppies on surfboards, which I just
Oh.
think is the coolest thing.
Jake,
Right?
tell me you have something with dogs on jet skis.
Yeah, you got. I didn't get the memo that you guys were tossing
Oh
around.
shit!
Yeah. Well, Tom and I typically will plan things just the two of us, Jake, because we like to sometimes just have our own thing.
It's just coordinating outfits. I get it. I get it.
Yeah, Tom and I, we're very often considered fashionistas by most people we talk to.
I would
So,
agree.
yeah.
I would
Yeah,
agree.
my wife agrees. Yeah. The only time she's ever told me that I've matched is when I'm wearing my either my white or blue Bills jerseys and my white, blue, and red Zubaz pajama pants. So that's the only time she's ever told me I've ever matched. So
I'll be honest, I really thought you were gonna go. The only time she ever told me I matched was the day of our wedding. That's where I thought you were going.
That one didn't even factor in. That wasn't even a thought. Tom was like, you know what? I know I'm not matching. We're going up to it. We're going up there.
Alrighty here. Well, I'm glad we got some laughs in because shit's about to become bleak. So we're gonna be, like I said, we're gonna be taking a bit of a deep dive into the Sabres this evening. We're gonna touch on the Bills too,
Right.
but there will be some Sabres discussion primarily this evening. So to get things, oh god, yeah, right. So back to the Halloween music. Wait, this is the
Yeah,
one that has
this is
that
the
hip-hop
sad-
thing coming soon, right?
Oh, it does. Yeah, wait
Yeah.
for it. Yeah, tell us what's going on here. What's
Yeah.
happening?
So the last couple games since the last podcast for the Sabres in terms of their record, oh, that's so fat, dude. 4 straight losses. Lost to the St. Louis Blues 6-4, lost to the Carolina Hurricanes 6-2, lost to the Nashville Predators 2-1, lost to the Detroit Red Wings 5-3. Current record on December 7th is 10-14-2. They are 7th in the division, and currently 6 points out of a playoff spot. Oh boy, upcoming games tonight.
Grizzly.
Yeah.
They have a lot of games that they've played above the teams that they're trying to catch, right? Like Sabres have played 26 games. A lot of the teams above them have played 22, 21, 23 games.
Yeah.
So just again, hampering themselves.
Right.
Yeah, they're basically last in the division. Ottawa's the only team beneath them. Ottawa's played 6 less games and only has 2 less points. Like they're going to pass Buffalo at that point.
Yeah. So we're
All right.
so
I got a new cue.
Go ahead, Tom.
cue.
Hit me.
How can some teams get 6 games ahead? I'd understand 1 or 2, but scheduling wise, why is that fair? Like, why does that mean the Sabres have been playing like that many more games in a compressed amount of time? That doesn't seem.
Jake, you want to take that?
Sporting.
It's I mean, I guess it's not uncommon. I think those are kind of opposite ends of the spectrum. Like most teams have played around 24, 25 games. So
Yeah,
Buffalo's played 1 or 2
reasonable.
more.
Yeah.
Ottawa's played 1 or 2 less. But it's scheduling, it's availability of arenas, things like that. I mean, it's not uncommon for a team to be separated by that many games.
It just seemed like an alarmingly amount. It's like one an NFL team playing 2 less games at this point, like that.
Yeah,
That would seem unfair to me. That would be like, why are they getting that much more time?
It's all going to come out in the wash. Every team's
Yeah.
going to play 82 total games, and there will come a point at the year where like Buffalo will be on a little bit of a slower part of the schedule, and Ottawa will close that gap in terms of their 6-game deficit right now. So it'll all come out in the wash. It's not something to be like concerned about or feel like it's unfair.
Yeah.
It's all gonna come out in the wash.
Ottawa's the lowest team at 20. Every other team has played 22 or more. So it's not that big of a difference at this point.
Upcoming games tonight, Thursday, at Boston, which you can just put up an L right now. Saturday versus Montreal, Monday versus Arizona, and then we head out west for a bit of a stretch here. Wednesday at Colorado, Friday at Vegas, Saturday at Arizona, and boy, oh boy, oh boy, that's an ugly looking stretch there. Maybe we'll be able to scrape out some dubs against Arizona, but
maybe, dude, they've been hot.
They've been hot, but like
they beat for a fun stat I saw. Their last 5 games, they played the last 5 cup winners and have won every single match.
Oh, I did see that.
See that?
Yep.
They're hot right now. They're playing well, and so those aren't easy wins. They play them twice in that stretch, and then the easy matchups against Vegas, Colorado, and Boston.
Yeah. There's no shot we're beating Boston. There's no shot we're beating Colorado. And there's no shot we're beating Vegas. So at best, over that next stretch that I just mentioned, we're going to be 3-3.
That's best case scenario.
Yeah,
I think,
that's
honestly.
super generous of me to say, with the way this team is playing, which I think like the biggest prevailing issue at this point is what the hell has happened to the offense? Why, like, we were putting up goals. I think we ended last year scoring the 3rd most goals in the entire league or in the regular season.
Yes, we did.
And like we're absolutely plagued right now with a complete inability to put the puck in the net, and I just like it's I think for me it's really concerning because we brought back the same goddamn team. Like we changed like 2 things, and none of them were on the offensive side of the puck. Like it's the same iteration in most capacities of the exact same 4 lines we were rolling last year, and all of a sudden this year this team cannot score, and I have absolutely no idea why that is. 26 games played, we've only scored first in 9 of those games. As of Tuesday, and again this is Thursday, so as of 2 days ago, Sabres were in a 3-way tie for the worst in the league for that stat, meaning scoring first. I'll tell you a really good way to struggle in a hockey game is to always be playing from behind, right? Like if you're constantly giving up 1-2 goal leads to start games and you're always battling back, that is such a shitty way to play hockey, Jake.
Yeah, it's tough. Well, and the stat that we don't have but is significant, it's not always 1 goal. It's often 2 goals, 3 goals. So they're digging a hole in the first period.
Yeah.
They've been a horrible first period team, just looking unprepared to play, and then needing to play this kind of reckless, like, fuck it, let's try to get some goals here style, which is what they did last year, but they didn't dig themselves that first period hole last year.
Right. Yeah.
So those 9 games that they scored in first, do you have an idea what their record might be? Tom, Nigel, want to throw a guess out what their record is in the games that they scored first?
7-2.
I was going to say 7-2 as well. I'll change it. I'll say 8-1.
You guys are you're both super close. 7-1-1 is their record in games they scored first.
So like
that makes sense.
Oh my God. Yeah, right. Yeah. Not a brain buster there. You score first, you win more games than you lose.
Yeah,
because you're able to control the narrative, right? You're controlling how the other team has to play, right?
Exactly.
They're playing your game instead of you having to play their game.
Yeah, you're doing a lot more dictating. You're absolutely right, Tom. Jake, and you already touched on like like I said, like the biggest thing is what happened to the offense. But like to take it one step further, it's not even that we're not scoring, which obviously in sports you have to score more than the other team. I think John Maddox put it best. Well, you score more points than the other team, boom, you win the game. right? Like
Turducken.
John turducken. John Madden said it best, dude. So like we're not scoring, which is an issue, but the team flat out complete. Whoa! I just touched my drums next to me on accident with my talking with my hands. Sorry about that. Um, the team looks completely flat out lifeless, dead, uninterested. Like they're in it. Here's the thing that really sucks is even last year when we were losing games, the team was pretty easy to watch. These last 4 or 5 games, whatever, the team is absolutely unwatchable. I broke my own personal record last game. I did not even make it through the first 10 minutes of the game before I shut that shit down, dude, because I'm and I mean this. Like it's not good, but like I will watch every single game even if we lose as long as we are competitive and hanging in there and showing up to these games. And right now, dude, the team just looks like if you put 12 zombies on the forward lines, right? Like it would look about how they do right now. And that for me is the most upsetting thing. Like it legitimately hurts my heart, dude. Like it makes me I feel duped and sad and hurt because like this was supposed to be the year, right? And not only does it look like it's not the year, but it is such a monstrous regression. I was saying to the guys earlier, I haven't seen Sabres Twitter be like truly this bleak and depressed and pissed since 2007 when we watched Jason Pominville and Chris Drury just walk away for nothing. And like that's where we are right now. Jake, do you have thoughts on that, man? Like, I mean,
No,
fuck.
I think you meant Danny Briere, not Palmer's.
Yes, thank you.
But
Yep. Thank you.
no, I mean there were some dark years in the current drought still. Like I'm surprised. I think like the tanking teams that were tanking for McDavid in 14-15, those were bleak, but it was with the impression that there was hope on the horizon, right? You're gonna tank,
Correct.
you're gonna tear the roster apart, there's gonna be pain, was a direct quote from one of the former GMs, Darcy Regier.
Yep.
Like you could kind of stomach it because there was some vision for the future. Like all right, we're gonna tank and get this all-star superstar player.
Yeah. That
Tough
was
years to watch. The other one that was tough to watch was the COVID season, where they had more established players. They had Eichel, Reinhardt, whatever your thoughts on him, Ristolainen. Like they had decent players, but then
right.
bottomed out and finished last in the league. Like that was. I think I probably it was a shortened season, but I probably watched like 10 games that year because I just couldn't do it. They looked lifeless. Even when they were winning, they looked lifeless. And you're seeing some similar things to that this year where they just come out and don't look ready to play and don't have the jam and the firepower to go against teams that they've been losing to this year.
Yeah.
It's tough to watch. Yeah.
It is so frustrating, man. And you touched on it. Like even when the years where like the expectations were infinitely lower in those other shitty years, right? Like this was the year that most people, and I think rightfully so, I don't think anyone was like being overly dramatic or anything like that when people were saying this year is playoffs or bust, right?
yeah.
And like I think that was warranted after the season we had last year. Now, I guess I'll ask you, Jake. You have a lot of great stuff on this planning doc here. Do you want to get into some of this data that's going on here, or do you want to like? Because for me, dude, I could shift it at any point to who's to blame and what do we have to fix between Kevin Adams and Don Granato. But I think there's a lot of really good stuff that you put together here on the planning doc. If you want to touch on some of that first.
Let's touch on that first, and then let's get to the bigger picture conversations later. But
Okay.
I just want to say I totally agree with you that I think the expected mindset this year was playoffs or bust. They missed the playoffs by a single standings point last year. It wasn't like they were out of it by 10 points and we were hanging our hats on moral victories. Like they played really well, especially down the stretch last year, to get within a point of the playoffs. And like you said, they brought back the same players for the most part. They added a little bit on D. You would expect them to still have that similar team play, and that just has disappeared this year. And I think we'll get into it a little bit here with some of the stats that I pulled as far as why that is. But it's tough to watch. Like I stuck through the Detroit game. I didn't turn it off after 10 minutes,
Oh,
and I was a little masochistic there, just trying to
yeah,
watch the game and
totally. I
realizing
get
that I
it.
was in pain. But they got down 4 goals in the, I think it was all in the 3 in the first, maybe 1 in the second. But anyways, at any rate, they were down 4-0, and they did claw back. They played well. They pushed the tempo. They got shots on net. They outplayed Detroit for long stretches in the second and third, and clawed back to within a goal. It was 4-3. It was a 4-3 game, and yeah, it's at no point did I expect them to win the game. I was expecting them to have a big comeback and make it close, and then lose in the end and feel heartbroken as a Buffalo fan.
Yep.
And that's exactly what happened.
Yep. Yeah,
I
I
don't know
mean,
where to go with that, but I guess maybe let's talk a little bit more about the offense, like what's changed. Defense too. I mean, I guess let's just talk about like what's changed last year to this year, because the look and feel of the team on the ice is so noticeably different, and the results obviously are different. But I wanted to like kind of talk about what is happening that's making it a different result on the ice.
yeah, yeah. Go ahead. I mean, if you, I would say let it rip, Jake. Yeah, like as you got, I'm looking at stuff that you've got here. It's all killer, and I see some things here that I'm going to jump in on too. But do you want to walk through some of these things you have written down?
Yeah, let's do it. So, I mean, I guess first and foremost, the offense. Like you mentioned it earlier, Nigel. They were third in the NHL in goals for in the prior season. That's elite offense, and they played like it and generated chances to warrant that level of production.
Yep.
And to some extent, that production is still there this year. They are a good team at creating chances off the rush, but they've not been as lethal
Mm.
in capitalizing on them this year, and the chances that they're generating have dipped. So, they were such a dominant team off the rush last year. I was expecting some regression, but not to this level.
So
And
real
the
quick,
rush,
when
yeah,
Jake is talking about off the rush, we're talking about like if you're a basketball fan, like transition basketball. Off the rush is transition hockey. Like when you scoop that puck in your defensive zone and you're ripping through the neutral zone, like you're rushing into the offensive zone. That's what we're talking about by off the rush. And the Sabres being as young as they are, they're so like when they're going and they're firing on all cylinders, they're so fast, dude. I truly believe that when this team is in the right headspace, there aren't that many other teams in the entire league of 32 that can skate with the Sabres. And I think that was a big reason why like they were just feeling themselves and everything was so fast, dude. It was like a hot knife through butter. And that's another like I think that's a big piece of like why the chances are different, man. They just look so much slower this year. It's like they're skating through molasses.
yeah, agreed. The rush shots. The official definition is any shot on goal that happens within 4 seconds of entering the offensive zone.
Okay.
And yeah, it's tough. Like the games that stick out to me that I thought they played really well and deserved to win are the games where they're motoring, they're moving through the neutral zone and breaking in effectively into the offensive zone, forechecking and winning puck battles down there. Like the Rangers game most recently comes to mind.
Yeah.
That's the only sliver of
Hope.
good hope, yeah, in the past 2 weeks or so.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
yeah,
dude.
so those chances have dipped, and that's where they make their money, right? That's where they score their goals. They're not a LA Kings of the early 2010s where they're grinding through the offensive zone to chip a puck into a high danger area. They excel from their speed and finishing ability to get into the zone and expose other defenders and get a quick shot off to beat a goalie with a cross seam pass, and
Yeah.
that's not happening.
It's not.
Um,
The,
I think this kind of overlaps with the defense side of the conversation, but I think it's relevant. I've noticed like a lot of the emphasis this year seems to have been placed on neutering the defensive players a bit off
mm,
the rush. I've noticed defensemen joining rushes less regularly and staying more conservative, staying back closer to the neutral zone when the team does break into the offensive zone, with the intention being to not allow as many odd man rushes the other way towards their own net. So putting themselves in a bad position player wise coming back towards their own net.
Right.
But I really do think that's hampered the offensive production quite a bit, without a big impact on the defensive game that they've played. And
Yeah.
it shows. I mean, they're 18th in the league right now in goals for. It's not where you want a team with this much firepower to be.
No, definitely not. I think a huge piece of that too is last year we had for a good chunk of the year we had a sick power play.
Yeah.
And this power play this year, oh my god, dude. Anytime we get a power play, I'm like, can we just choose to stay at 5-on-5, dude? Because I can't watch another one of these goddamn Buffalo Sabres power plays, dude. It is so boring and stupid. Like it's just there's no again, it looks slow. The shot choices are terrible. It looks like we have now that teams know they have to cover Tage Thompson, who hasn't been playing recently, just came back the other night. But like it's like you take that away, and this team has absolutely nothing to offer on the power play. And again, dude, even if you take out Tage Thompson, there is a lot of firepower on this team. There is no good reason on the planet why this power play should be this bad, or let alone this much worse than it was last year.
Yeah, I totally agree. What I have the most issue with is there's less creativity. Like the
Yeah,
plan for a lot of last year was feed Tage Thompson the puck. And that's a good plan. He has a monster shot. He has one of the hardest shots in the NHL. And it's a good plan. But guess what? Other teams wise up to that and start covering Tage Thompson. So you need another plan to get the puck to the net. And they have not really explored that. Even with Tage Thompson out, you would think that that would force a little bit more creativity and movement and other players getting in. And to some degree it has, but the results have not really changed at all. If anything, they've gotten worse. They're, I think, 25th in the league in power play percent right now.
correct.
It's just not where you want to be for a team that has two power play quarterbacks on the team in Rasmus Dahlin and Owen Power. Both of those guys should be elite power play producers.
Oh my god, I know, dude. And Owen
You-
Power is a different discussion for him of him like with himself this year, but
we'll get to him.
yep,
Yeah.
yeah, for sure.
But the blueprint that they have has not worked so far this year. Tage Thompson has been getting smothered, and the power play is just sputtered because of it. And I need to see more effort. Really, like you said it. Like it seems slow.
Yeah,
Um, there's not a lot of motion within the offensive zone when they're on the power play, and that is how they make goals happen, is creating confusion and
yes. Yep.
throwing off defenders because, oh shit, Owen Power's behind the goal line. Like, what do we do now? And there's that constant rotation of play. It's just not happening. A lot of players are standing still, firing passes between the two face-off circles and the guy at the point, and
Yep.
then eventually, firing a shot on goal that's an easy save
Yep.
for the goalie. So
Yep.
I'm no power play coach in the NHL. I know that for a fact, but something has to change. I truly hope the coaching staff is looking back at last year to this year and saying, what the hell happened?
Somebody has to be, right? And then so like so we made very few moves this offseason, and two moves that we made were bringing in Clifton and Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And holy shit, dude. Like I step back and I look at this, right? What did this team needed a couple things in my eyes going into this most recent offseason. To me, they needed an established veteran goaltender. They needed a legitimate top four defenseman to play alongside Owen Power, and they needed more scoring help on the wings. Those were my big things, particularly I believe right wing was where we needed more scoring help. And instead of any of that, we got Colorado's sixth best defenseman, maybe, and Boston Bruins' seventh best defenseman, meaning you only dress six per night, there were plenty of games where he was a healthy scratch. When that's the and I recognize it, like when it comes to trades, like people always get super worked up about trades because they want them to happen. But you have to remember it takes two teams to be willing to trade, right? Like Kevin Adams can't just go to somebody and say, "Hey, I'd like to trade for this person, so you have to." Right? Like it's got to be a two-way street. But for those things, and I think those things that I just mentioned, goaltending, top four defensemen, and some more scoring depth on the wings, I think those three things were pretty universally considered needs in Saberhood. Would you agree, Jake, or am I reaching a little bit there?
No, I don't. I don't think you're wrong. I might not go as far as needs. Definitely wish list. Like in
Yeah,
like perfect scenario, I would say those three things 100%.
yeah.
I I didn't think. I guess I was less high on the scoring depth on the wings
That was the
and the
least of the
goalie.
three for sure. But goalie was a huge one for me, especially because like all off season, right? All anybody was thinking was Levi, right? Everybody was all tunnel vision on Devin Levi, right? And I think I said it before the season started, like, and we talked about it, like, we can't we can't just bank on a 21-year-old rookie goaltender to come in and crush it. Like, he needs reliable help. And I emphasize the word reliable because up to this point, UPL and Comrie have not demonstrated that they can be that reliable veteran while Devin Levi acclimates. So, and I don't know how it happens because if you would sign somebody, now all of a sudden you're in this world with four goaltenders. That's not my job to figure out. But I think, like, for me, dude, like, that was a need for me. Like, I didn't want to go into this season banking on Devin Levi. We've been pleasantly surprised for the most part with UPL, but like for me, and that's just for me, like I can't speak for anybody else. That was a need. Same with the top four D man. I thought that was a legitimate need that this team had, and it was just what I shouldn't say the word ignored because like like I said, for trades it takes two, right? But like I don't know, dude. Like we're the Buffalo Sabres, dude. Like there will never come a time where we do not have to pay more than other teams to get legitimate free agents to come here. And we had the cap space, dude. Like we're never going to be able to compete with a Tampa Bay or Florida where it's warm and sunny, 365, and oh, that's right, no state income tax, right? Like when you come to New York, 6 months of the year, it's cold and shitty and rainy and snowy, and we get taxed like more than everybody aside from those in California. So like I don't want to hear about like, oh, there were no free agents. Like there were, and we didn't go get anybody. I recognize, yes, you don't want to mortgage the future by spending all your money on one legit top four D man. But holy fuck, dude, like, sorry, but like I'm being proven right here. Like
This
particularly with
time,
that. Go ahead.
this time, like last week or last episode, we were like raving about UPL. What's happened?
He's been sick. He hasn't really been playing.
The St. Louis game in particular, I remember he played in like the games that he's played in since we last spoke. The goals weren't his fault. I don't think he's been the issue. It's team play. It's
It's way
preparedness to
more team
play
play for sure.
and giving
Okay.
up bad opportunities against that lead to goals. Not necessarily a goalie, torpedoing the output of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't know. Maybe I'm speaking very emotionally, Jake. You're much better at being level-headed than I am. I just like I like
No, I don't. I don't think you're wrong though.
I like it, I just don't like I don't want to live in a world where Owen Powers part and Yoki's played pretty well this year. But Yoki is not a top 4 NHL defenseman that should be playing with our six prized possession young defenseman that is yes, definitely in the middle of a sophomore slump right now, but once he gets through that is going to be an insanely good defenseman in the NHL. Again, the kid is like 20. Like
Yeah.
he's a fetus, dude. Like he and sophomore slumps happen, right? Like it's not uncalled for. He's definitely struggling right now. I'm not sitting here saying he should be benched, but like I just think I can't help but feel like if he had that like legit veteran good top 4 defensive partner that things wouldn't be a little bit different for him this year. I don't know, man.
All right. Oh man, I got a lot of thoughts. I'm
Yeah,
gonna break
go,
them up.
dude. Oh, I'm so excited.
The two issues: goalie, veteran goalie, and then top four defenseman, somebody to play with Owen Power. I'm going to start with the goalie. The goalie, you made great points. I agree. I think there's a significant need for a more stabilizing presence than we've had. I think Levi. I'm not upset that he needed time in the AHL.
Me
I
neither.
still think he might need time in the AHL.
Me as
He's
well.
called up right now. He's going to play tonight, Thursday against Boston.
Holy fuck.
We'll see how he fares. Look, I think he's going to be fired up coming. He was sent down to the AHL. I think that kid takes that personally, not in a bad way, not in a fuck these guys way,
No, I know
but
exactly what you're saying.
I think he comes back with kind of a fuck you attitude. I belong here. I'm going to prove it. So I do think I'm going to say this, and he's going to let in 7 goals tonight.
And none of them will be his fault.
No, exactly. But I think it is a failure to not have addressed the goaltending situation in the offseason. But I don't say it's a failure with any blame necessarily. I think the free agent goaltending market was not incredibly deep.
Nope.
I think if Kevin Adams went out and signed a quote unquote veteran goalie that we might be talking about, and that guy looked like dog shit, I think we're having a conversation right now saying, why the fuck did Kevin Adams sign this horrible goalie that doesn't fit into the Sabres like
Long-term
roster
plans. Yeah.
construction, long-term plans, anything? Why are we wasting assets on this kind of thing? It's fucking hard to find a good, reliable, steady goaltender in the NHL.
Yeah.
Some teams luck into it. Some teams just have them from the draft. Like it's hard to do though. Like not every team is able to find that kind of goalie that we're looking for.
Yeah. The big name all off season was Connor Hellebuck, and he was looking for like some fucking outrage. He was looking for like 10 million a year or something ridiculous like that.
Yeah.
And
So the contract that he got in Winnipeg, say Buffalo signed him for that. How would you feel about that if he was Sabres goaltender for that?
So I will say this, and this is you can choose to believe me or not. But once I found out what he was planning to command, I immediately, because I was high on him too. I was like, yo, like this could be like, imagine Devin Levi sitting behind Connor Hellebuck and learning from him. Like that on paper seems awesome to me. Once I found out what Connor Hellebuck was demanding or wanted to make, it was like it was a whole. I was like, no, he can't. He's not
So
going to be the guy.
he's signed for $8.5 million right now. He signed a 8-year contract extension with Winnipeg for
Yeah.
$8.5 million.
That's too much.
Yeah, I don't think I want that on the team.
I don't either.
Goaltending is such a up and down, team dependent position. The only situation where I would be comfortable signing a goalie to that kind of deal is if it's a goalie that came up through the Sabres system, played behind the Sabres for many years, and looked really good doing it, and then extending that player. Just because there's so much variability going from team to team as a goalie, it's so much more different than a defenseman or especially a forward. Forwards are practically interchangeable in teams' systems. Goalies are so unique in that way that I don't think it makes sense to throw money at a goalie that you've never seen play in your system. To me personally, it's just personal opinion. But
I see what you're saying there. Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I get it. I don't know. Okay, so dude, Clifton and Johnson. Like, where are you? So, like, talk to me about the defensive stuff then, because like, I would have been perfectly content, right? Like, making like Riley Stillman and Ilya Lyubushkin, right, that we had last year, your bottom two, right? Or maybe Yoki Hardy becomes part of that because now you have a new partner playing with Owen Power. So let's take away Riley Stillman. Sorry, that was a bad example. Let's say like what I was hoping for this year for the defensive pairs, Dolls and Sammy, OP and new top 4 veteran, Yoki Lyubushkin. That was what I was hoping for on the defensive end. And now we're close to that, but Yoki's still playing on the second pair with OP. And we've had the absolute, I don't know, upsetting privilege of watching Connor Clifton and Eric Johnson absolutely shit down their leg through 20 some odd games.
Yeah. I'm not as high on Labushkin. I was very okay seeing him walk. I think Stillman would have been a better option for the roster. I think Stillman was a very serviceable defenseman for us last year. I
Take your
wouldn't
pick
have
on any of
minded seeing him
those,
there.
whatever iteration. Yeah, I'd be fine with
Any of
any
them.
of them.
I agree. I was looking for them to add a solid defenseman in the offseason to ideally play with power. I'm not upset that he plays with Yoki Haru. I'm not upset that Dahlin plays with Samuelson, but I do think there's something to be said about pairing Power and Dahlin, your two A plus grade puck moving defensemen, not playing them with somebody that's incredibly defensively minded.
Mm.
I look at Vancouver right now. Look at what Quinn Hughes is doing with that Vancouver team. He might be the best player in the league right now.
He is
This
playing
year.
off the wall.
He's been paired in the past few years with more defensively minded players. I'm thinking of like Tyler Myers. He
Yep.
was with Chris Tanev early in his career,
Mm-hmm.
and he did well. He's a good player. They paired him with Philip Hronek this year, and Hronek is not a world beating defenseman by any means. But he's a player that's good in transition and moving the puck out of his defensive zone. When you play when you're an offensive transition based defenseman and you're going back into your own zone so many times, like Dahlin and Power are, especially with a player that struggled in their own zone so much, like Power, if you have somebody back there with you as your D partner that is not defensively minded, that is also transition focused, it makes the first pass that you make in the defensive zone easier for Power, easier for Dahlin. It gives them a better outlet for them than to rocket the puck out of the zone if there's somebody back there that is kind of on the same page as them, rather than a defenseman that is designed to just kind of hunker down and stifle shot block, get in the lane, and then chip the puck off the glass. I just think that combo of highly mobile offensive defensemen with super defensive, structured, don't let shots go to the net defenseman is not always the best combo. So with that said, one idea I wanted to throw around with you: what would you think about a Dahlin Power pairing?
The only so I see what you're saying there, and you're right. I have not looked up to see who Quinn Hughes is playing with. You can't ignore Quinn Hughes' numbers. No, they're off the wall. My only concern with what you're talking about, which it sounds like is pairing two more offensively minded defensemen together. My only concern there is getting caught in transition. I mean, Dolls and OP are both rovers, man. How
Yeah.
often do you see OP down? Oh, Linus Allmark is dressed against us tonight. I got the game on my phone here. Fuck. So like OP spends a ton of time below GLE, which stands for goal line extended, meaning he spent as a defenseman, he spends a lot of his time down behind the opposing team's net. And that's just because of the way the cycling is working in the offensive zone. I like that. My concern with having a guy like two guys like OP and Dolls who are both rovers is getting caught in transition. I'm picturing a nightmare scenario where those two are out on the fourth line with Oki, Gergensons, and Krebs, and they're both roving, and there's a turnover, and all of a sudden you've got Gergensons and Okposo skating backwards to defend because Dow's and OP got caught down low.
Yeah.
That's immediately where my mind goes, which is absolutely worst case scenario. However, it's not like I don't see the validity and the potential of what it is that you're talking about with two guys like that playing on the same D pair. So let's paint a picture. Let's live in a world for a second where those guys are D partners, right? What do the rest of your pairings look like?
Ooh, I mean, I don't think Yoki Haru is a bad NHL defenseman.
Not this
first of
year.
all, so
This year he's been solid, man. I think truly, and he was playing with an injury last year. I thought Yoki last year was dog poopy. I thought he was terrible. He has made several plays this year where I've gone, holy shit, that was Yoki. Like a
Yeah.
couple of really great, awesome poke checks in transition, a couple of really nice jumps into the rush.
yeah,
Like I
he's.
thought there's
I
been
mean,
moments
keep in mind
this
this
year where
dude's 24.
he's looked
He's
awesome.
he's not some like 33-year-old grizzled vet. I mean, the kid, he's 24 years
I
old.
know
Like
he's
there's
still young
still
too.
there's still room for him to grow. I really don't mind him being paired with Power for that reason. Like Yoki Haru is not bad in transition and gives Power a bit more of an outlet, I think, than someone like Clifton or Johnson does.
At this
But
point, you got to try something, right? Like
yeah,
and here's the other thing. Jay, can you help me to understand why on God's green earth are we scratching Ryan Johnson for hockey games right now?
it beats me, man. I don't know. I mean, I think he's been better than his namesake Eric Johnson,
Yeah, I'm
and
sorry,
Connor
dude.
Clifton.
I sit Eric Johnson until his foot falls asleep, dude. Like I I don't need for him to be on the ice right now. I would much rather see some iteration in your top four. And I know Sammy's had his moments too this year. Sammy's had really terrible moments where he has
Yeah.
very clearly gotten caught puck watching. But
Yep.
we've seen a bigger sample size of him being really good defensively than we have very poor. So for right now, and I'm taking that from my guy Joe Marino, like the sample sizes don't lie. It's tough
Yep.
to not get caught with your emotions, but the sample size of Sammy playing much better than he is right now is much bigger than what we're seeing. So my iteration of the top four right now, or is I said that poorly. Top four right now for me is some iteration of Dolls, OP, Yoki, and Ryan Johnson.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think those are the four best defensemen on the roster.
So, or excuse me, wait a second. Did I say Yoki in the top four? I did, didn't I?
I think so. I don't.
I meant to say, sorry, I need to backtrack because we're talking about so many players. I just got fried for a second. The top four for me: Sammy, Dolls, OP, and Ryan Johnson. Though that for me right now is the top four. And again, I know there's a lot of contention with both OP and Sammy right now, and Yoki's been playing solid. But I think it like truly those are our best four defensemen in this organization right now. Are those four guys that I just mentioned?
Yeah, totally agree.
So, but then you get to the situation. What's your bottom three look like? Because you've still got Eric Johnson, Clifton, Yoki Haru. Am I missing anybody?
Bryson, I guess.
Bryson, but he hasn't been playing much anyway.
No, not really.
So, talk for a second, Jake, on what your thoughts are on what I just said, because I want to look up and see what the pairings and line combinations are in this game right now.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. Let me know. In a perfect world, I'd like to see Samuelson step up a little bit and look like the pairing him and Darlene looked like last year. I don't know what's changed about that pairing, but Samuelson has looked lost. And I think it's Eric Johnson. I never expected him to play all 82 games. I hoped he wouldn't play all 82 games. They've started to kind of spell him and sit him for games at a time. But what you see is what you get with Eric Johnson. He's an older player. He's had a lot of miles on his body playing in the league for as long as he has. You're not getting anything different from him. What you see is what you get. So yeah, spell him, rotate him in when you need to, but the most troubling part for me, the defense has not been banged up. There's a lot of injuries to talk about with the Sabres. The defense really has not been a part of that for the most part.
You're speaking a hair too soon because Dallas is actually not playing tonight.
Great.
He was going to be a game time decision. I saw on Twitter today he's been dealing with some nagging shit.
Okay.
I think it was a very not the best idea to choose to play him the other night and sit him against Boston, but
yeah.
I'm not a coach. What do I know? So with that, the defensive pairs for tonight, OP and Sammy are your top pair. Second pair is Ryan Johnson and Yoki. Love that. Third pairing is Johnson and Clifton. So we're just going to keep banging our fucking heads against the wall with those two jamokes. Forward lines, dude. I find this incredibly interesting. And this has been the case since Tage has come back, which is only 2 games. But that top line is, and Tuck is hurt, so that could be part of it. But that top line, Tage is not centering that top line. Casey Middlestat is centering that top line. So your forward lines this evening, Skinny, Mitzi, Tomer, Benny, Cuzzy, Turks, Roseanne, Yost, Olafson, Robinson, Krebsy, Oki are your forward pair or forward trios right now.
I love all the nicknames in there.
I'm a huge nickname guy, dude. I like to pretend that I'm actually in the locker room and I'm on the team and I know everyone's nickname.
Mm-hmm,
Um,
mm-hmm. I don't. So looking at positives, Casey Middlestat centering the top line, I think is a huge win. He's
it's awesome.
been,
He's
for
been
my
so
money,
good.
he's been the best player on the team this
I
year.
don't think there's. I think if you're going to debate that, maybe I could see Skinner, but Casey Middlestat's been fucking awesome this year. No two ways about it.
Yeah, I'm here for it. I love to see it. He's such a good creator. He doesn't create a whole lot for himself, and he doesn't have a good shot. But the opportunities that he opens up with his play and his passing for other players around him it's borderline elite. I mean,
It
he's
really is,
performed
dude.
really well.
His nobody can take the puck from him this year, which I think is the most impressive thing about his game this year for me. You watch defensemen come up on him. He is using his body to defend the puck so well, dude. I'm blown away. Like you can't take the puck from him right now, and
Yeah,
it's absolutely awesome. I'll tell you what, dude. I can't stand the look of that third line. Roseanne, Jost, and Olafson. I think that's just a poor line, dude, in my opinion. But
they've dealt with a lot of injuries this year.
yeah,
Tuck has been in and out of the lineup. Thompson's been out for a couple of weeks here.
Dahlin
Greenway's
now,
been in and out.
Greenway.
Gergenson's down for the long term. It seems like
Yep.
Quinn still hasn't made his debut. Like there's been a lot of injuries, but there's still a lot of firepower out there. With those injuries, I would expect some regression. I wouldn't expect this much regression, and it's more how they're playing. Like we've talked about. Like it's I don't think it's personnel. It's how they're preparing for and getting into games is
Yeah,
hampering them.
an absolutely
But
dynamite glove save from Devin Levi just now. Wow. That was
hell
nice.
yeah. So the new addition from Columbus, I think we should touch on that. The Sabres traded for a forward from Columbus. His name's Eric Robinson. He's debuting for the Sabres tonight. They acquired him for a conditional 7th-round pick. I think the condition on that is that he has to play 45 games or so for Buffalo
Correct.
this year.
Yep.
So a real low-risk move. Somebody that just got kind of squeezed out in Columbus. They have a lot of forwards. Couldn't ice him every night. And look, I think it's an indication that maybe Greenway or Gergensons or one of their forwards is going to be out longer term than we think.
Yeah, I get
And
the impression that it's Gergensons and not Greenway that's going to be out for more long term, just based on what Donnie's been saying in interviews and stuff like that.
yeah, but it's we don't have to deep dive on this guy. He's a good penalty killer. He's a kind of an energy guy. He's
I'll be totally honest with you. This maybe I'm just jaded and dark and negative. I just don't fucking care. I don't fucking care that we acquired this guy. He's a name I've like. I'm not the end all be all for hockey knowledge. This is a guy for me to have never heard of somebody is not nothing. I watch a lot of hockey. I don't just watch the Sabres. I love this time of year because I always know there's going to be sports on that I want to watch at night because you just can't escape hockey season. It's on all the time. This is a player I've never heard of. His stats didn't do anything for me. He more or less seems like a younger Zemgus Girgensons, which if I can get more offensive output, I love that. But, and again, maybe I'm just negative and a prick and a jerk. I just don't fucking care.
Nigel. Are you saying you've never heard of Eric Robinson?
Yes, that is what I'm saying.
You don't remember the hat trick he scored on Buffalo last year?
And then I saw that highlight and I'm like, are we kidding? Like, what is this team? So, yeah, dude, I don't know. It just moves. It moves the needle for me. Nothing. Now you watch the Sabres historically. I've never seen this from anything in my life, dude. But like for whatever reason, so many players when they play for Buffalo for the first game, they fucking score a goal. So he's probably gonna get one tonight. And then people are gonna be like, "Oh, Eric Robinson, blah 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 blah."
MVP.
To which I'm going to say, I just don't care. It moves the needle for me, nothing. It's like you just said. I think it's a Zemgus Girgensons replacement, which I'm okay with in the sense that he's younger.
Yeah.
Which is good.
I think there's more offensive upside than Zemgus. Not to say a lot, but I think there's a slight margin more.
I would agree with that. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. But it's not like if you're somebody that saw this and is like, oh, maybe this is where things are turning around. You're wrong. You're just
wrong.
incorrect.
Yeah, you're wrong. That's not the move that's going to make the team click. That's not the that's not the secret sauce for sure.
Yeah.
So can we? I'm just going to rattle through a couple of
Let it rip.
things that I had because so we talked a lot about the offense, what's changed. We talked a little bit about some of the individual players' defensive issues and struggles this year, but just as a team, I feel like I'm included in this. I was pushing this narrative that they were an improved defensive team earlier in the year, that they were trending towards being a better defensive team. And I wanted to just give a little bit of context as to how wrong I was and how disappointing that is. Um, so last season, again, we talked about it. They were a powerhouse offensive team, but a horrible team at giving up goals against. Last season, they were fifth worst in the NHL in goals against. Currently, fourth worst in the league. So they're doing worse. San Jose Sharks, for those of you that don't follow hockey closely, the San Jose Sharks started the season and are currently a horrific team, like borderline historic levels of bad. They cannot score. They hemorrhage goals against.
That was real quick. 2 games in a row, I believe, where they gave up 10 or more goals, if I remember right.
You are correct. Yeah. So two game span, 20 goals against. That San Jose team has allowed only 5 more total goals than the Buffalo Sabres this year.
And that's how you know you suck.
Just sit on that one for a second.
Yep.
And to me, like one of the most troubling parts is they're giving up an equal or greater volume of goals against Buffalo is this year, but they're different. They feel different. Last year, there were so many breakaways against, odd man rushes against, where they would push the pace and get into the offensive zone, give up a bad turnover, and then all of a sudden the other team is pushing a 3-on-2, 3-on-1, 2-on-1 breakaway, whatever it is, against and scoring. I was more okay with that because it was at the cost of it was that they were pushing the pace, driving play to the other team's net, and then giving up a bad turnover.
I couldn't agree
this
more.
Year, they're not really doing that. They're not giving up a lot of odd man rushes or breakaways. They're just getting scored on. Yep. That's so much worse to me. They're giving up worse goals more frequently than they were last year when they were giving up higher quality chances.
Yep. And yeah, like to touch on that too, like there's just like a lot of the time right now when I see goals go in, it's guys just standing there, right? Like guys standing there, and then the puck goes in the net, and they're doing that thing where they look up at the rafters like, oh fuck, I knew that was me. There's so much of that this year.
I agree, and I think I know we got to watch our time, but I think it warrants a bit of a discussion about Don Granato and the coaching staff and getting these guys ready to play and preparing them to succeed, because it's a noted departure from the feel and timbre of the team from last year to this year, where they just look flat all the time. It's not one game here, one game there every couple of weeks. It's been a couple games in a row now, and kind of a trend throughout the whole season of just not being prepared to play. I don't know about you, Nigel, but like that is a coaching thing to me.
100%, dude.
Leadership.
And like, so I'll kind of do my little side tangent on all of this. So Kevin Adams and Don Granato both share a lot of blame here. And I'll start with Kevin Adams because I really do think, I don't think this team currently is constructed the way that it needs to be in order to make a deep dive into the playoffs. And the reason I feel like that is because we have too many players that their role is like the same thing, right? Like we have so much skill on this team. Truly, I believe that. And it's slumping right now to something awful. But we have so much elite skill on this team. And like I picture like, you know, this team is missing a guy like Anthony Cirelli, like those types of players, man, that can put the puck in the net, but are just such pricks to play hockey against, dude. This Sabres team looks so easy to play against, dude. So that for me is Kevin Adams and roster construction. He does not have the bottom 6 pieces in place that I believe that this team needs in order to make a legitimate run at a Stanley Cup. Now,
I think that's an area to address for sure. Like, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No,
like
please.
Kyle Poser, he's the captain. He's the heartbeat of the team, but he looks like he's skating uphill, man. Like he's washed. I hate to say it, but
he is. And like, dude, we're now at the point where we have got to stop searching for moral victories right?
Yeah.
Like Kyle Okposo is a moral victory. Craig Anderson coming back was a moral victory. This
Yep.
shit like that, dude, has got to stop because I'll tell you what, if I'm 20 something year old Dylan Cousins and I keep seeing shit like that, I'm like, bro, what are we doing? Like, I want to win some goddamn hockey games.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought him up because he is somebody that called the whole team out after one of the most recent losses, just saying like, look, we gotta play fucking harder. We're too soft.
Yeah.
And I totally agree with him. I think he's a young kid. I think he's what, 20, 21 years old. Like he
I
looks
think he's
lanky on the
22,
ice.
23. Yeah, a little bit older than what you just said, but not by much.
He does, but he plays with that like that style, that kind of in your face
He's a
style.
prick to play against.
He's a two-way center too. He's not really focused on one side of the puck or the other. I think he can be that Anthony Cirelli type, that kind of prick to play against, that can punish you on both ends of the ice. But he's not showing it this year,
He
honestly. Like he called the team out, but it's as much in indictment of his own play as it is the team.
correct. And I would even go like I don't know, man, like he is a prick to play against, and you're right, he could, but I'm talking about in the bottom six, dude. Like Dylan Cousins is never gonna be in the bottom six on this team, right? And
Yeah, nor should he.
that's where I want to see that kind of stuff. Like I think historically we don't get enough contribution offensively from our bottom six, right? In the last 12 years. I think that's a huge piece of it. But
Yeah,
like you
you
watch
could argue. You could argue our entire lineup was bottom six for a
yeah,
while.
you're
So,
right. But like
but
you look at the teams that have won the Stanley Cup in the last handful of years, the Tampa Bays, the Colorados, the Vegas, right? These teams are running four lines of combinations that can put the puck in the net. The only difference is the top six do it in a way fancier, sexier, sleeker style, where those bottom six are just motherfuckers to play hockey against, and they
yep.
get the dirty, grungy, in your face, we're just gonna beat the hell out of you goals. And that's
Yeah.
what I never feel like I have from this team, dude. Um,
The bottom line is depth. Depth wins
yes,
cups.
yes. So Kevin Adams shares a good chunk of blame here. But dude, you can have all of the wrong pieces in place and still look competitive and show up to play hockey every night. And that's where I land with you, dude. The way this team is showing up for games right now is 150% on Donnie Meatballs, dude. I don't know.
Unacceptable.
It's entirely unacceptable. And I'll tell you what, dude. I to watch this coaching staff be as useless as it feels right now, and I'm not talking just Marchand got a penalty, that fucking big nose fuck. Um, it is not just Donnie Meatballs. I don't think Matt Ellis is doing a damn thing, and I don't think Marty Wilford is doing a damn thing. And here's where my ass gets really chapped, bro. We let the exact guy that I think this organization needs to turn some of this shit around in Michael Pekka walk away and coach for the Rangers. And I'm like, dude, like, are we kidding? We couldn't pony up and keep that guy in the organization because I'll tell you where he needs to be. It's in Matt Ellis' spot, focusing on player
Yeah.
development and running the power play. And
Yep.
Marty Wilford is not, he's running the defensive side of things, I think. Maybe I have
Yep.
those two reversed. But
No, I think you're right.
I mean, dude, like, how does Marty Wilford still have a job? I don't
I
understand.
don't know, man. Yeah, it's not to say it's just on Granato is a lie. It's the coaching staff. I mean,
Yes.
their number one, their only job, really. Like whatever else they do is secondary. Their only job is to get the players ready to play, and I think that's one of the big question marks that everybody had with Don Granato when he came in and took over as head coach. He has a long history of developing players,
Yes.
but how are his tactics? How are his motivation skills? How does he get the guys in an NHL room ready to play an NHL game? The team tends to be emotionally prepared for big games. Kyle Okposo's 1,000th game aside, we'll put that one to rest.
Holy
But
fuck.
they tend to get up for those big games. But it's not about that. You don't make the playoffs by playing well in those games. You make the playoffs by getting yourself up and ready to play against fucking Seattle on a Tuesday night in November.
Yep.
That's how you make the playoffs.
Yep.
Not when you get your back against the corner and you're like, all right, I need to win this game or else we're knocked out. That's not how you get to the playoffs long term, for sure.
Thorpedo,
So
I couldn't agree more with everything you just said, dude. I think you hit it directly on the freaking head, bro. Tom, how are we doing? How you doing, buddy? Just checking in on Tom real quick.
This thing on. Hello?
We should touch on just a few quick little things for the upcoming Bills game. But Jake, I
I'm
don't
ready
want
to
to.
boil it down. So just, you finish this up.
Dude, I could go on for
I
another
know.
hour.
I do.
Honestly.
Is there
Yeah, you
anything
two are
major
sick.
that's sitting on your conscience right now, Jake, that you want to get into?
No, nothing major. A lot needs to change. They've not played their best hockey this year. I think they will play better hockey throughout the year. My only issue is, have they dug themselves too deep a hole to dig out
Is
of
it
right
too
now?
little, too late? Yep.
We'll see.
My big prevailing thing. Oh, I'm so glad we're on a power play. My big prevailing thing was I wanted to say those two things about Adams and Granato. I think they're both at fault right now. I think Kevin Adams rolled the dice a year too long on looking for growth from the current players and did not make any moves to inject some new exciting shit into this team. And I think we're being shown that Donnie Meatballs is just simply maybe not cut out to be a head coach for a team like this. Again, the development track record speaks for itself, but we're getting past that point now.
And the drafting. I think Kevin Adams has done an excellent job drafting and allowing that to happen. There's so many more things I want to say, but I do think we should move on.
Yep.
We should move on.
Tom,
we'll come back to Sabres later.
Tom, you want to take us into some Bills stuff?
Yeah, ready for the 2-minute breakdown?
Yeah, hit me, bro. I'm so good.
The Bills got to win. This is it, right? We're at this point. We're 6-6. The expectations going into the season were incredibly high. We were looking at a 13-3 team, right? That's what the expectations were. And the Bills go take on the Kansas City Chiefs in Arrowhead on this Sunday at 4:25, 4 o'clock time slot. And we got to go win. We got to go and win. The Bills have 5 games left on the slate, and we have to go at least 4-1. 5-0 gets us in the playoffs. 4-1, we sure gotta hope, and that's not a fun place to be. So I think we don't even have to really talk about many of the details here. We've kind of, I think all we need to boil it down to is the Bills have to go in and take care of business. We've won an Arrowhead the last 2 years. Let's go do it again.
That we have. Yep.
Go get him.
Yep. Offense has to keep humming. That's the big one. And God, Sean McDermott, please stop zero blitzing on the last defensive play of the game. My God.
There's been too much bad juju, bad vibes, bad, I don't care what you call it, around this team right now. Go in, look clean, take care of business. Don't do anything stupid. Take care of the ball. And it's, hey, 1 week at a time. Go win this week.
Yep.
Go win this week. That's what it has to be. And then we talk about next week. And that's where we're at. So that's my shtick for Bills v Chiefs.
Tom, how are we looking health wise coming out of the bye?
Pretty healthy, which is a good sign. Having a week 13 bye is a nice spot to be. The only we were getting Christian Benford back, cornerback. We're getting Dane Jackson back, Kyra Elam. That cornerback room is coming back to life, so that's a big deal. Dawson Knox could possibly be back. He just got reactivated. He had ended up having wrist surgery about 4 or 5, 6 weeks ago. Years. Oh my
6
gosh.
years ago.
Feels like
Still
it.
Not back yet. Maybe this week.
And so he could be his 21-day window has been activated. So he could be played this week, or he could wait. I'm excited to see him. I know a lot of people are out on Dawson Knox. I think they're silly, and I think they're not looking at how the game of football is played. He's an excellent blocking tight end. He has clearly had trouble catching the ball because he had a freaking broken wrist. So I'm glad they took the time for him to go get that healed up. So I'm excited to have him back out. He's a clutch player. He has had some of our biggest. He has been one of our best players in our biggest moments in the last few years, and we need him. So we need him. We need Dalton Kincaid to come to life. We need Stephon Diggs to come out and show us why he's the top 3 receiver in the league. We need Josh Allen to show us why he's better than fucking Patrick Mahomes. And we need Arrowhead to quiet down. So that's where I'm at.
Yeah. Well said, buddy. I'm with you on the Dawson Knox stuff, by the way. I agree. I think he takes a lot of flack, but I think now that he's going to be, and I think this is pretty obvious for everybody at this point, and if it's not, everyone should be fired. But Dalton Kincaid's the tight end 1, and I think with that, Dalton Kincaid's the tight end 1, And I think with that, you're going to see Dawson Knox in the role where he really succeeds, which is a blocking tight end role. So
and who can leak out and make great catches and make clutch
absolutely,
catches and clutch moments. I don't care what people say. They don't understand what it takes to block in this league. They don't understand what it means to be a tight end who knows your quarterback in this league. And now we have 2 of them. Sign me up, buddy.
Yep, I'm with you, pal.
Yeah.
So
Tommy, you want to hit us with like top 3 or 4 matchups that we should be cheering for or against this week?
yeah, the Bills need a lot of help. Even if a perfect weekend happens and all of the things that can happen for the Bills that we need to, we're still not in a playoff spot, everybody. So that's fun. We need though to get us closer and to get us approaching a playoff spot. We need the Patriots to win over the Steelers tonight. We need the Bengals to beat the Colts on Sunday.
Could happen.
We need the Jaguars over the Browns.
Will happen.
We need the Jets over the Texans.
Probably not.
We need the Vikings over the Raiders.
Probably will happen, I think.
We need the Chargers over the Broncos.
That I would say I'd lean Broncos.
I do too, but it's a divisional game, so who knows?
It is. That's weird shit.
Titans over Dolphins.
Not in your wildest dreams.
Oh, come on, Vrabel. We're big Vrabel fans. Here we go. So, yeah, that's it, folks. Thanks for tagging along with us, and we appreciate you. All of you Spotify rappers out there who had us in their top slot, please don't forget to reach out and say hello and tag us. We'd love to send you a little shiny little sticker. So thank you all from the bottom of our hearts for spending some time with us. Tonight, a lot of time with us. It would mean a lot to us if you'd share this episode. Give us a like, give us a follow on Instagram and X at Let's Go Buff Pod. That's Buff with 2 F's. These are my pals, Jake and Nigel. My name is Tom, and you're listening to the Let's Go Buffalo podcast. We are sending you love wherever you are. Go Bills, go Sabres, let's go Buffalo.